Hi, and welcome back to In the Kitchen, Conversations on IoT. I'm Kerry Siggins, CEO of StoneAge, which is the parent company of Breadware. And today I have Tom Snyder with me. Tom, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry, for having me.
All right, let's dive into this. So, you are heading up a really interesting organization, and I'd love to talk a little bit more about it. So, what is RIoT, and why did it get started?
So fundamentally, we're actually a tech-driven nonprofit focused on economic development. We really care about job creation, and I'm an engineer, and I biasedly think that tech jobs are the best jobs, and IoT is really kind of the future of tech as we think about a data economy. It gets started back in really our origin was 2010. You may remember 2008-9. There was a big tech recession, and lots of people lost their jobs, and we had the idea to go into corporate campuses of big technology companies that had significantly downsized and gather up all of the wireless equipment that was in those corporate campuses that there was no market for, and set up a nonprofit incubator where people could start new companies, start working with entrepreneurs and startups, and we could basically provide capital expenditure for folks who were going to build connected devices. And, and as you know, everything is getting connected right now. So it turned into a bit of a growth market. We added the RIoT brand a few years later, focused on kind of wraparound services and entrepreneurial support, helping people not just with their technology needs that we had already supplied, but then also business support. And we fund it through a consortium of about 95 corporate partners that want to engage this entrepreneurial community, apply their tech platforms, their expertise, form partnerships. And it's been really a wild ride.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about some of the things that you do. You do events, you've got an incubator. I mean, there's lots of a broad span of things that you all do for your clients. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
We do with the industry partners that really provide the bulk of our funding. We're a connecting organization. So as you said, we run about 75 events per year. Many of those are in person. Some are partnered with other conference organizers. We have online events. So if you go to riot.org, you can find all kinds of ways to engage. And so our partners want that. And it's good to have a kind of a neutral facilitator that kind of kicks off conversations, which lead to kicking off of projects and pilot studies and business. And then we also run a startup accelerator. So early stage companies can apply to our program. It's a 12-week program. We're running in 4 cities now. And that's all about helping to form kind of the solid business foundations around a good technical solution and creating jobs.
And are the companies that come into the accelerator, are they all building IoT enabled products, or are you touching on other tech as well?
When we think of the term IoT, early days, go back 2012, 14, there was a lot of emphasis on the T, on the thing. And
Right.
still about 2/3 of the companies we work with are making hardware devices. 100% of them are doing software. So we do have some software only companies, but we really think of IoT as being real-time data. So the thing is where the data is generated, but then you're analyzing that information, you're automating some response. The thing might be also activating that response, but when we think of IoT, we really think about that broader data economy. And so the companies in our program reflect that broader spectrum.
I like that. Before the show, we were talking about people being confused about what IoT is, and so I think that definition is really helpful. What do you see the future of IoT really being? Especially as we're looking through this context of it's really about how you actually do something with data.
Yeah, I think so. I think the fundamental shift, if you think of the IT age to the IoT age, is around time. If you think of IT, that's about having all the information kind of cataloged and web crawled and at our fingertips. And IoT is more about the moment that a piece of data is generated at a sensor, you can instantaneously compute that at the edge, decide what it means, and take an action. And so as we shrink time and we do things with lower and lower latency, that's really where I think IoT is going. And it's allowing for autonomous vehicles, autonomous energy grid, fields that harvest themselves, monitors on our body that do persistent healthcare. it's all that kind of automation.
Yep. Yep. I think that's a great definition. And clearly you're very passionate about this. So maybe tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to be at Riot.
Yeah, I love tech. I'm an engineer, and I like building things. But I'm also that odd engineer that loves working with people as well. So I'm that extroverted engineer, and I had spent most of my career in big corporate, in publicly held multinational technology companies, designing and building out wireless devices, portable electronics, things like that. But there were multiple times in my career where, just because of the cycles of kind of how Wall Street operates and investor demands, we were laying off profitable teams. And I got really frustrated at the people that were doing most of the work, kind of, in my view, unfairly receiving the rewards of that work. And it got me thinking about, are there things that could be done in emerging technology that also helped people to take better control of their own destiny? And that was where the kind of the startup support, the startup incubator, all those things came about. But that's not to say that big industry isn't important. There's no reason to reinvent the cloud or reinvent, our connectivity networks or our big manufacturing lines. And so we kind of thought this was a nice way to build an organization that really is a neutral liaison between the big tech platforms and people that are solving really interesting problems that are going to be the next great companies.
Yeah. So it seems like you're very interested in kind of creating those networks, being able to really help companies grow faster. How do you do that with your sponsors, with these companies that, are investing in the accelerator program?
Yeah, it's a lot of it's just about purposeful connection. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is. For all the technology we have, a lot of business is still pretty relationship driven, right? And so, where we can help is because we're not charging a consulting fee, we're not taking like a finder's fee, or involving ourselves financially in the relationships that we help build. We get a lot of people coming in asking for help, and then we've got this whole suite of partners that have just about any kind of tool or service or expertise you could need, and our job is just to connect the dots. And it works really well, and it's super fun because I get to see lots of different projects. We've been doing quite a bit with municipal governments recently, helping with smart city efforts. We've actually had some government teams go through our startup accelerator, which is really interesting to think about as they're trying to be more and more creative. So yeah, it's about connecting folks, and then where we need more than a connection, we do have curriculum, we have programmatic elements that kind of help like push people along towards a project and towards a pilot study or a launch of some kind.
Yeah, that's great. And so looking 5 years down the road, where do you see Riot? What's your vision?
Uh, as you pointed out, I'm pretty passionate about this, and we want to help as many people as we can. And a lot of our focus recently has been getting into more rural communities, more low income communities. There's, as has been widely reported, a little bit of challenge in tech in terms of diversity and inclusion. I think we can fix some of that. The good news is there is a long tail of business opportunities. More than half the population are in smaller communities. And so, if we can help to bring resources places that there weren't before, I would love to see Riot in more and more communities, around the country and around the world, and then connecting back again to those kind of anchor tech platforms, if you will.
I love it. You're so speaking my language. I live in rural Colorado, in Durango on the western slope. Stone Age is one of the biggest employers here, and we're transitioning from a traditional manufacturing company to a tech company because of IoT enabled products. And it is a real challenge. It's a challenge for recruiting. Although now that the world is opened for remote work, it certainly is easier to find people, but still a big challenge to bring teams together to really get those creative juices flowing. And most of the big cities don't pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on in the rural parts of their state. And there's so much creativity, so much opportunity. So I really appreciate that as part of your vision, because I think a lot of the big municipalities, big cities, big tech hubs are missing out on what some of these smaller, more rural communities can bring to them.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's interesting you mentioned the Rockies. We've actually got a project out in Winter Park, not
Mhm.
not too far from where you are in Colorado, and really a lot of that is about how do you take a small community that essentially is like a 3-month economy and turn it into a
Right.
12-month economy. It's great to have a ski resort there, and and it creates an influx of revenue for a short period of time. But people are living there. We need year-round economies. I think tech can provide that as people can work from wherever, and we're going to see a lot of people move from those cities out into these other areas, or maybe the quality of life is a little higher, and so on and so forth. So I think there's real opportunity.
Yeah. Welcome to Durango. That's exactly what's happened. And, we talk a lot about how important it is for us to be a real community. We don't have a ski resort here in town. It's about 20 miles away, which I think helps keep it where I think that non-service industry businesses can thrive. But if we want to have these beautiful places that do have a higher quality of life, it's really important to have high quality jobs here because the service industry just cannot support it, especially as people move in and housing prices go up. So it's definitely a real challenge, and I'm really glad to hear you thinking about that because I do think that tech can help make these smaller rural communities thrive because we need good jobs here. Otherwise, I've got a company in Canton, Ohio. It's one of our innovation centers. And you walk around Canton, which used to just be this like flourishing, amazing, beautiful place. Some of the houses there are so gorgeous, but they're just dilapidated because everybody's left. Right? There wasn't that investment into what the future jobs are going to look like. And I certainly don't want my community to be like that. So we're trying to do our part in creating those types of jobs here.
Well, it's wonderful that you're doing that. We think of it really as a digital rust belt. That the
Yeah.
communities that unfortunately the foundation layer is the communities that don't have good broadband, right? And
Yeah.
so I think one of the silver linings from the pandemic is that there's a tremendous amount of federal money coming out to hopefully bring better connectivity out into these smaller communities. And what's really cool, we've launched a program we call Digital Bridge, which is really a workforce development program helping those folks that maybe they finished high school and they just didn't know what to do. And the result is maybe they got into a job. It's not really a career. It's just kind of a job. And they're kind of maybe stuck at an hourly rate. There's not a lot of advancement. Well, with a small amount of effort, we can teach enough digital skills that they can now work from home with a technical certification. And that's importing salary into a community that then recirculates to the community and supports the service industries. And so we have a couple of American Rescue Plan funded projects in that area where it adds this entrepreneurship and skill-based training on top of the broadband deployment funds from the federal government. And we'd love to speak with any communities that are exploring how to kind of unlock the potential of the rural entrepreneur. There's huge
Oh my
opportunity.
gosh. Well, I'm going to hook you up with somebody in Durango because that is I mean, that is so spot on. I work, we having it being a manufacturing company, we are looking for people who are really interested in those like technical careers that don't require a 4-year degree, but with very specific skill sets, whether that's in digital. I mean, same thing like with machining, right? Machinists all run CNCs. It's all connected. How do we expose young people to the possibilities of these careers where you don't have to go to a 4-year college, you don't have to go into debt, but you can have a very rewarding career, and it helps businesses because we need really agile people who can learn those new skills quickly as technology changes. So you're speaking my love language.
I love it. This will be an extended conversation. Maybe we'll come on a year from now and see how far we came.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. A few more questions before we wrap things up. So, what do you think that the world of IoT looks like in 5 years? There's so much that's changing and disrupting right now in tech. What does your crystal ball tell you?
I'm obviously biased because 3/4 of RIoT is IoT, right? But
Right.
but but I think IoT truly is the umbrella over which we're going to see more and more visualization through augmented and virtual reality. We're going to see more and more real time analytics that then get documented on blockchains or archived as NFTs or all of the different tech buzzwords, if you will, to me really are underneath this data economy that I think of as IoT. So I think what we're going to see is much more fusion of the hardware and the software together. And I think we're going to start to, the public is going to stop thinking of IoT as just the thing, which is maybe the early thought of what it is, and really more of the system. And that's my hope. One day, anything that we call smart today, it's just going to be a watch again, or it's going to be a city again. We won't need to keep using the word smart. Might take more than 5 years, but I don't think that's too far down the road.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that a whole lot of people I have my Fitbit. I don't really think of it as a smartwatch. I think
Yeah.
it as my heart rate monitor and telling me to take steps and, telling me what time it is. So I think you're right. I think as people just get more and more integrated, when smart technologies gets more and more integrated in their lives, it just becomes what is. And that's why I think people don't necessarily connect to the word Internet of Things. Like as soon as I just describe it, it's like, don't worry about that. Just think it's just smart devices. It's your, home security system. It's your refrigerator telling you, that you need to change the filter. It's your Fitbit. And everybody's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And then of course, much bigger things that are going to transform the way that we work and manufacturing and tech and every industry. It touches every industry.
I think one day we're going to look back and say it was amazing that we made health decisions based on like 2 doctor visits a year where they had 2 points of data, and that was enough data to tell us like how to be healthy. With the wearables, you get 24/7, 365 health monitoring. It's transformational.
Yeah. Well, I already think that even though I just started wearing my Fitbit, I'm like, yeah, like how do you actually know that? By just looking at me and then yeah. Anyway, you're right. It's going to just transform so much of the way that we live. Oh, it's exciting. It's exciting. All right, last question. What is your best piece of advice to entrepreneurs or companies who are looking to build IoT enabled products or solutions?
Uh, For me, the number one thing is don't go it alone. There's a lot of different technologies. The markets are still very fragmented, and even the building block tools are fairly fragmented at this point. But there are hugely engaging communities, whether it's the RIoT ecosystem or others in your area. Um, we all have our own superpowers, and when we can bring those diversity of powers together, we can do far, far more than we can alone. So whether even if you're in a large organization, find the right partners, collaborate, join meetup communities, go online, get involved with GitHub repositories, whatever the case might be. I really think that this is going to be where the collaborators are the ones who will win.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. I mean, that's what Breadware is here to do as well, is to be that partner, the extension of your engineering team, so that you don't have to go it alone. So I really appreciate that vision because that's what we're trying to do to help people get these products out there faster, more efficiently, fewer mistakes. Get that MVP done so you can test the market. All those things are really, really important. And I learned the hard way. So why we actually acquired Stone Age, or why Stone Age actually acquired Breadware, is we went in alone and we made a lot of mistakes. And then I was like, okay, well, we need some help. So we called in expertise, and it has made our lives so much easier.
Yeah, it's great. It, it it is truly, I think, the most important thing is to, participate in communities, give help,
Yeah.
get help.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Well, Tom, this has been so lovely to chat with you today. Thank you so much. Before we go, how can people find you and how can people find RIoT?
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. We are pretty easy to find. Our website is just riot.org, riot.org. You can find us as well on LinkedIn, Twitter, other platforms. We're at Riot on social. If anyone wants to reach out to me directly, I am Tom at riot.org. This is my email, and you're welcome to reach out.
Fantastic. And what 4 cities are you doing your incubators in?
So right now we are in Stafford County, which is kind of the midpoint between DC and Richmond. And
Mhm.
then we're in Wilson, North Carolina, which is a rural town in the eastern part of the state. We're in Cary, North Carolina, which I think is the most forward-thinking smart city in the U.S. actually at this point. And then our headquarters, where I'm based, is Raleigh, North Carolina. We have a large audience in Atlanta, in DC, and out in Denver, Colorado as well.
Great. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next month.
Thank you, Kerry.
Take care.